Good morning, everyone. You may know someone who has experienced a stroke. Experts want people to know the warning signs because getting to the hospital right away can save lives and lead to better outcomes. It's estimated more than 110 million people in the world have experienced a stroke. Dick Brennan has one survivor story.
It's been 3 months since Thomas Meerswa suffered a stroke, which started with tingling and numbness in his left hand at work.
I figured it was a muscle reaction to overexertion over the weekend. And then I got up to deliver something to somebody's desk and realized that I was having trouble walking.
The healthy, active 64-year-old did not have risk factors like high blood pressure or diabetes. It was several hours before he went to the hospital.
I thought of stroke, it might have handled things differently, but according to my physicians, I'm low risk in every category.
This little white cloud there in his thalamus is what's responsible for his sensory symptoms.
Neurologist Dr. Martin Jeetzy at Hackensack University Medical Center says, remember, be fast for warning signs: sudden trouble with balance or coordination, blurred or loss of vision, face drooping, arm weakness, slurred speech, and time to get to the hospital.
It's important to take all of the symptoms seriously. Even if they resolve, they may be a sign of something much worse to come.
It's estimated about 2 million brain cells die every minute that blood flow is blocked.
We have drugs and procedures which can reverse those plugged up blood vessels. You have up to 4.5 hours for the medication to be given.
I'm very grateful that my symptoms have not been more severe.
Thomas is doing physical and occupational therapy.
I have good days where I feel like I'm really on the trend to getting back to normal and reusing my left side. Other days that I feel like my left side is limp.
He hopes more people learn the symptoms and don't delay care. Dick Brennan, CBS News, New York.
Other risk factors for stroke include heart disease, high cholesterol, and smoking. Well, millions of Americans are living with vision loss, and those conditions also increase their risk for other health and well-being issues. Elise Preston shows us an organization helping people with vision loss navigate and educate the world around them, one step at a time.
So let's go forward.
Heather, forward, honey.
Lori DeMarco is constantly learning the world around her.
And then go forward.
Yeah.
She lost her vision more than 40 years ago from diabetic retinopathy, a leading cause of vision loss in the United States.
It's dark. There's no color. But remember the static on TVs years ago when it didn't work? Well, it moves through my eyes like clouds.
According to the CDC, more than 4 million Americans aged 40 and older have uncorrectable vision impairment. That number is expected to more than double by 2050 as a result of diabetes, other chronic diseases, and an aging population.
Vision loss is something that affects many people.
Bill Schultz is the president and CEO of Vision Loss Alliance of New Jersey, a nonprofit helping those living with blindness or vision loss live independent lives.
Too often people who are blind or have low vision tend to be isolated, and we want to make sure that they're part of a community and that they're getting skills that they need.
The organization also helps people advocate in their community, so places like this wine store know how to best serve customers.
So we take a step over this way.
And participants learn how to take advantage of technology, like Seeing Eye apps.
Whispering Angel Rose 2021.
Oh, nice. What does that independence mean for you?
Freedom.
For retired teacher Lori DeMarco, it's a mission.
I'm an educator, so the way a blind person delivers the message is also important.
A message for those around her about living with vision loss. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Prices for food continue to rise, but there are a couple of new apps that can help you save some money and cut down on food waste at the same time. Deborah Alfarone explains.
Hi, I'm picking up a Too Good To Go order.
Can I see your confirmation?
Yeah.
Josh Byard picked up a bag of bagels but had no idea what was inside until he opened it.
8 bagels of different kinds, a lot of everything bagels.
He got the food for less than a third of the regular price from Too Good To Go. It's an app with stores and restaurants serving up everything from pastries to salad to pizza. Customers can buy a surprise bag that costs between $4 and $6 that many restaurants offer up at the end of the business day. The owner of Bullfrog Bagels calls it a win-win.
There's just less waste. We make a little extra money, and the customer gets a very deeply discounted bagel.
While Too Good To Go offers discounted food from restaurants that would otherwise be thrown away, there are also apps that offer the same from grocery stores. One of them, called Flash Food, works with about 1,400 supermarkets. Stores pick out items nearing their expiration dates and sell them for around half price on the app. Customers pick up their food from a refrigerator near the front of the store. Are you seeing more people on the app now that we've experienced such inflation?
Yeah, we're selling almost all the food that gets made available in the Flash Food app.
Flash Food and Too Good To Go take a percentage of every sale, but the companies say they are committed to fighting food waste, and that's the main reason Bayard uses the app.
I mean, every little thing that we do can make an impact.
Too Good To Go is in 13 major cities, and Flash Food is in about half of U.S. states. Both are expanding to transform more food waste into an affordable feast. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Revealing secrets and some tough times ahead. Life on the Mississippi when mid-morning returns. Welcome back. The mighty Mississippi is under attack, strangled by a historic drought, the worst in 40 years. Record low water levels are making it all but impossible for barge traffic to move foreign-bound produce out to sea. Ben Tracy has more on that story.
This used to be an island in the middle of the Mississippi River, reachable only by boat. Now you can walk to what's known as Tower Rock. Months of below normal rainfall have sent the river to record low levels, creating chaos for barge traffic.
We haven't seen these levels for about 3 decades.
Paul Rohde represents the river shipping and towing industry. Barges are being slowed and stranded at the worst possible time, just as farmers are sending their harvests downriver.
60% of our ag exports travel right down here, the Mississippi River, down to New Orleans and out for export. So if we don't have barges available, that's a real problem, not just for America's farmers, but for the world, frankly.
It's also a critical supply chain for everything from coal and petroleum to fertilizer and road salt.
How important is this river to moving goods around this country?
The Mississippi River is a vital transportation artery. It's absolutely a water superhighway. Annually, we'll move 500 million tons, give or take. If you wanted to put that on trucks, you could circle the earth 13 times with trucks bumper to bumper.
Billions of dollars in economic losses and higher prices for consumers are expected as the drought drags on.
What's your biggest concern?
No clouds, no rain.
And you need more than a little rain?
A lot more.
Lou Del Arco is chief of operations for the Army Corps of Engineers in St. Louis. The city is now the gateway to growing problems downriver. The Army Corps has been dredging nonstop for 3 months, desperately trying to keep a 9-foot deep shipping channel open by sucking up enough silt and sand to fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool every hour.
If this drought continues, can you dredge your way out of this?
We can dredge it to a certain point and then Mother Nature wins.
In Louisiana, salt water from the Gulf of Mexico is creeping up the river, threatening the drinking water supply. Baton Rouge has a new tourist attraction. A sunken ferry boat from the early 1900s resurfaced as the water receded. This punishing drought comes as climate change is making rainfall patterns all over the country more extreme.
It is drought or flood.
Washington University professor Robert Criss has studied the Mississippi's flow for decades.
Is your sense that this is not going to be as reliable as we thought it once was?
It clearly is not reliable. When the water's too high, they can't run the barges. When the water's too low, they can't run the barges.
And yet the barges have to keep running on a not-so-mighty Mississippi.
Unfortunately, there's no silver bullet. This is irreplaceable. We have got to keep commerce moving.
Ben Tracy, CBS News, St. Louis.
When we come back, dinner that combines country living and a little French style. Mid-morning will return in a moment. Welcome back. A small town in California is now on the world culinary map thanks to a husband and wife duo and their acclaimed restaurant. Jamie Wax had a chance to visit and get a taste.
The term farm to table is overused in the restaurant business, but it's an actual description of Chef Daisy Ryan's daily commute.
Daisy, this is where you start your morning. Here at Finley Farms,
The Finleys surprise me every day.
What's surprising you today?
Lately, we've had these really beautiful blackberries.
I mean, largest I've ever seen, truly, blackberries that are grown here on Finley Farms.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
It really is.
Awesome, right?
So good.
That fresh produce from California's Central Coast is also central to the dishes served by Chef Ryan and her husband Greg at their French-inspired bistro Bell's,
Uni Turine Tartare.
which serves a cuisine they jokingly refer to as French.
It's French and ranch.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
It's as rural as can be,
Yeah.
and what's fresh, but it also has a little touch of French in it.
It is a good descriptor for what we do because there hopefully is a perceived level of finesse and sophistication and maybe a little bit more fine dining in the way that we do things. However, there is still this simplicity, not necessarily rustic, but something that is not quite so pomp and circumstance about the food.
And we got to sample some of it, starting with escargot cooked with parsley, pernod, garlic, and butter.
This is the most, I will say, herbaceous and garlicky, like in the best way, escargot I ever had my whole life.
Thank you.
I can't wait to eat it again. And I'm gonna soak all the rest of it up with this bread.
Also on the table, uni crepe, a Santa Barbara sea urchin on layered crepes with creme fraiche topped with caviar.
This is a perfect bite. I mean, this really is.
And this is how everybody starts their meal at dinner. We do a small bite of this.
Steak au poivre, crusted with peppercorn and accompanied with frites.
We talk about it being our connection and nod towards the way that we started this restaurant, in it being a very traditional French bistro.
Gorgeously medium rare. That's steak au poivre at its best. That is unbelievable.
Bell's farm fresh salad, and for dessert, champagne mousse.
This is so beautifully delicate and fluffy, but also salty. Not just sweet, but salty. And that little bit of salt brings out these figs like crazy. It's delicious.
The restaurant has helped transform the quaint town of Los Alamos. That's especially important to Chef Daisy, a native of the area who set out on a non-traditional career path, starting in culinary school and then in hospitality for the legendary Thomas Keller and Danny Meyer.
I loved cooking. I like the high intensity of it. There's an artistic element. It's athletic in many ways. So I always intended on cooking, but I had an instructor at the CIA that said, hey, you're really good in the dining room, and Per Se is looking for team members in the dining room.
It was at Per Se that she met her partner in life and in business.
At heart of this is a love story about home, love story about food, and a love story between two people.
Yeah, and somebody asked me, like, what is your concept? And Greg and I kind of look at each other and go, well, it's our life. You know, it is just the things that we love and are just really excited that other people love those things too. And it's worked out nicely.
I think that's why we feel it when we're diners here.
The pair bonded in New York, then moved together to LA, Austin, and eventually back to the Santa Ynez Valley, largely because of the encouragement of the chef's parents.
I have a great relationship with my mom and dad. They're really the reason that I became interested in food and wine and restaurants. And my dad is a very ambitious person. And he's like, well, let's just buy a restaurant. Let's do something. Let's make it happen. It felt like a place that we could actually make a difference and make an impact.
And they have definitely done that. Bell's has become a dining destination, and Ryan has garnered accolades along the way, including being named Food and Wine's Best New Chef and being awarded a coveted Michelin star.
Do you remember the moment you found out?
Yeah, you become like emotional just because it's not something that we ever really searched for. It's not anything that we were ambitious about, but that someone decided to acknowledge something that you did on your own terms.
You think Ritz crackers?
Both Daisy and Greg say they're anxious to use what they've learned to help others in the industry.
This restaurant is kind of this is what we have to say. Everything else that might come our way or that we decide that we want to try and do is through collaboration of others and hopefully offering them an opportunity to give them a chance to say something as well.
And for Chef Daisy Ryan, that goal is especially personal.
Do you hope that you're an inspiration for young women who want to run a kitchen?
Sure. I hope to set a standard and be a leader for younger people.
Jamie Wax, CBS News.
All right, coming up, do their eyes follow you? Creepy dolls ahead on Mid-Morning. All right, we're back. When the lights go out at the Chicago History Museum, dolls that have spent decades locked away in storage emerge from the shadows to play. The museum is spending the fall to shed light on its assembly of creepy characters scattered and hidden within another exhibit. The Haunted Dolls and History's Horrors collection seeks to share with visitors ghost tales about the Windy City's past. Jackie Kostick takes us on a tour.
Some new figures are hiding out inside of the Chicago History Museum's Crossroads of America exhibit.
There are 13 dolls that are lurking in areas that they do not belong.
Until recently, the chilling toys were just haunting museum storage. Now, visitors can stare into their vacant, glassy eyes and learn some scary secrets about the city's past.
All the dolls have link to Chicago and Chicago history.
Museum curator Charles Bethay says Chicago has plenty of ghost stories.
Real tragedies and disasters such as the Eastland disaster or the Iroquois Theater fire, to some of the more popularly known ghost tales like the woman in gray or the woman in red who threw herself off allegedly from the Congress Hotel. This particular doll has been in our collection for a number of years.
For decades, she was stored next to a gigantic distorted mirror.
Her face, over the period of time, has become disfigured. So you have to ask, what did she see in that reflection?
And meet Lullaby Lucy.
This one here is actually one of my favorite.
Lucy has been spending her nights at the museum in a peaceful slumber. Or has she?
So we're wondering, is she dreaming? What are her nightmares of?
Visitors are provided clues about where to find the dolls, if they dare to search.
There are some that would definitely send some chills up and down visitors' spines.
But like any nightmare, the dolls' visit is only temporary. Soon they'll find their way back to the museum's darkest corners, where they keep the city's deepest secrets. Jackie Kostek, CBS News, Chicago.
The National Retail Federation says participation in spending this Halloween was expected to return to reach a record $10.6 billion. Here's a look at who spent the most this season.
Inflation and recession fears not scaring away trick-or-treaters this spooky season. According to the National Retail Federation, Halloween spending could reach a record level this fall.
They're planning to celebrate in more ways than they did during the pandemic, but they may be a little bit more budget conscious.
The NRF says 69% are planning to celebrate this year. That's up from 65% last year, 1 percentage higher than 2019. The NRF expects Americans will spend $10.6 billion this year, despite soaring prices.
We know that inflation is certainly top of mind for consumers, but what we're hearing so far is that people are still prioritizing the holiday.
The NRF says consumers plan to spend an average of $100 this holiday. Costumes are the biggest expense at $3.6 billion, followed by decorations at $3.4 billion and candy at $3.1 billion. The NRF also says younger consumers, Gen Z, are celebrating more than any other age group.
Consumers under the age of 25 are turning out in full force. About 87% say they're planning to celebrate the holiday this year, and we're seeing the highest levels of spending in areas like adult costumes that we've seen in about 5 years.
Now that COVID-related restrictions are easing, they're more comfortable partying, going on bar crawls, and attending social gatherings. The NRF says they're also putting a focus on dressing up this year.
They're getting inspiration from TikTok, from Instagram, from Pinterest, and other social platforms.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Stay with us, we'll be right back. It's not uncommon for service members to be deployed and separated from their families for extended periods of time. Last week, there was a homecoming for a mother of 2 and a reminder of why we honor our military. Winston Reed brings us the story.
October 26th is recognized as National Day of the Deployed. Victory Christian Academy is holding a ceremony for students who have family members who are current or former military. For 2 students, they're going to get the surprise of a lifetime as their mother comes home after being deployed for 6 months.
Quashayla Outlaw looks on as her 2 unsuspecting boys, Justin and Jordan, stand side by side with their classmates who share a similar experience of having relatives who serve our country. As she approaches her sons, their shock turns to joy.
We've got a surprise for one today. Look around!
And the emotions run strong as the family is reunited. Quashayla says a recognition like this is important to the service members and their families.
We miss out on a lot. Family, friends, so it's important all around. And I also haven't, it's my first time seeing her as well as my sister. It's my first time seeing her, so it's important. Yeah.
Talk to me about how the past 6 months has been without your mother.
I missed her a lot.
Quashayla's grandmother, LaVon Harris, is no stranger to this moment.
Now, she's going out, and the dad's going to get ready to retire next month.
Okay.
Almost 26 years.
Yeah.
So he went straight in, so she missed out a lot with her dad being gone. But as you know me, grandmama was always there.
Quashayla says she has to go back next week, and it will be a while before she sees her 2 sons again. In the meantime, she's going to enjoy some good home cooking with grandma and spend as much quality time as she can with her 2 boys. Telling your story in Columbus, Winston Reed, WCBI News.
Love that story. We are all out of time. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day.